Hi, everybody. It's Aley from Heart and Soul Connected, and I'm still waiting for Susan to join us, which she will do probably, no doubt, in a few minutes. But I wanted to come on and say hello. Hello, Sharon Sipe, if you're still there. Um, Thanks for coming by. So today, Susan and I are attempting to begin the first vestiges of a new hopefully weekly, maybe weekly or bi-weekly, we don't know yet, idea that we've been talking about for a while, which is uh, talking or speaking with spirit. And it is my hope that Susan will be able to bring forth all her spirit guides and wisdom into this venue, and also help me move my spiritual stuff along as well, since I'll have a little bit more time this term. Um, I don't know what's going on, but the universe is seemingly clearing a lot of debris out of my way right now. I'm working with Keith on the Sonia Choquette book, Ask Your Guides. And I have been working with the Tao of Joy now for about 3 months, which gives me lots of insights into how to live joyfully and also aligned with the way or the flow or the best way to go in one's life. So that's what I've been up to. Plus, it was finals weeks, and I have been grading papers and doing all kinds of catch up work on that. And spring is here, and I'm feeling really good about that. So, well, it's coming. What? We got a couple more days, but it's close enough, right? I know we could all use some nice weather. I know a lot of you have been in the cold still and dealing with that. And so I definitely understand. And I send you lots and lots of wonderful, warm sunshine, if that's what you like. And if you don't like it really warm, then how about just being able to go outside without your coat on or without a sweater, maybe spending some time outside walking or outside doing gardening or something in the yard. I think it's so wonderful this time of year when the flowers start coming up, and we're beginning to see that happening. Um, Last weekend, actually, I saw a daffodil come up, and that was a nice affirmation for me that spring is coming here to Washington State. So I think that during the day, between what I read and what I pull for cards and what I spend time on, sometimes on YouTube listening to, that I have been hearing a lot about the message of ego and illusion and duality and some of those things. So I'm hoping when Susan gets here, we'll be able to talk a little bit about that. And the idea that we believe that we are all separate people, but the truth is that we are not separate. It's an illusion that we all are the same. We have the same sort of blood running through our veins, and we have the same wants, desires, and our, hopes and dreams. Maybe a little bit different, but we all have some hopes and dreams and aspirations. So the hardest thing to do is to describe how ego um, works with us because, hi, Renee, nice to see you. How ego works with us is because it asks us to identify only with our physicality more than with who we are in a spiritual sense. And so when we get wounded by something, most of the time it's by something material, it's by something that we believe is real because it looks real. But the truth of the matter is that we spend so much time othering or talking about the other that we are not really separate from that person or that group of people. We are them. We are part of the collective. And so by spending time, saying I'm great, I'm wonderful, oh look at me, and all that, and worrying about your looks, worrying about how you come across, worrying about being on top, let's say, or being somebody that has to work with um, touting all their abilities all the time, becomes a difficulty for us, because we do it sometimes because we're just used to doing it, and we're forgetting the real source of our lives is the spiritual life. So our resistance, um, as well, to unifying with the whole, because we see things as us versus them, even if it's not in a negative way. I want you to realize that you could be thinking that that person over there is separate from me, and you don't have to say, I don't like them. That isn't the point. But that person isn't separate from you in a lot of ways. That person is you, and you can see that when you really dig down deeply into that idea. So we are unified, but the problem is we see things in duality, because we spend our whole lives talking about this or that, up or down, in or out, chocolate or vanilla. Everything has to be a sort of a choice. Whereas, why don't we select not to choose? Why don't we select that we are just going to be, instead of choosing the ego route of the idea? So many times this reflects othering, and we just saw a very, very blatant example of othering that happened in Atlanta, in vicinity, just the other day. The first thing is that the officer that was explaining, hi Debbie, was explaining that the guy that did the shooting just was having a bad day or something, kind of put it off. Well, these people aren't really that important. This guy had a bad day, and maybe he didn't even mean it that way. Maybe it was just the way it came across, and obviously it didn't come across too well. But because of this othering idea, we are seeing people who are jazzed up about pointing a finger or saying that somebody is different, just because of the way they look or the way they live their lives. So we're seeing this no more apparent than we do when we see Congress or the Senate get together. And I don't want to turn this into a political diatribe, actually. But I think that it speaks to the idea of resistance. Nobody wants to change the way they are. They want somebody else to change the way they are instead, because none of us like taking ownership of making changes. If we can get somebody else to do it, then it's easier and we don't have to deal with that problem. So here we we're resistant because we don't like the idea of it, or was resistant because it's an opposing other. And nobody was more divisive and othering than our former administration, which created the idea to bring this back. I mean, it's all part and parcel of what people hear. And you don't have to hear something very many times before you start to believe in it, or you start to say, yeah, or you even start to say that very thing. I don't know. Have you ever been with a friend who had a word or had some kind of a mannerism, and after a while you started using the word and you started using the mannerism because you heard it so many times, and then you don't even think about it. After a while, you just start to do it, and then you realize, geez, I'm sounding like them now, more so. So this happens especially with good friends and people that get together, of course. Um, but here we have a lot of stubbornness. Leads to pride, or hubris, they call it, and pride leads to ego. So instead of saying, I'm going to work with you, or we're going to find a way to make this work, instead it's my way or the highway. So, hey, we all do it. And, I think that it's just something we have to make ourselves aware of, because it hasn't really gotten us anywhere, and it doesn't really serve us. It doesn't make things happen any faster. It doesn't give us that particular sense of um, accomplishment, or, you're not going to get anywhere, because if you just keep butting heads with each other, there's no progress made. So, I spend a lot of time, and I've said this before here, that I see a lot of things that are have been made to be more of an illusion than not. I've said before sometimes that money is an illusion, or that poverty is an illusion, or that, and I don't mean it in a sense where, of course, if somebody wants to, come and give me $100 bill, I'm not going to say, well, no, that's not real, I'm not going to take it, But what I mean is that it's not really backed by anything. It used to be backed by the gold standard. Now it's not really backed by anything. Yes, absolutely, Renee. It is psychology. Yep, that's very, very true. If we say it enough, then you'll begin to believe it, right? Um, and there's nothing more potent, I guess, especially for younger people, in the marketing that they do in order to get kids to do things, and adults as well, I'm sure. That's how the whole cigarette industry got started, and some of the other things that were out there before they started regulating it. But I just feel like, um, if we have something in our minds that we believe is real, and there's no basis of fact for it, particularly, it's not part of our value system or our belief system. It's really our illusion or our belief in that thing. And this is where I'm seeing, if you want an example, you can see the QAnon thing. It's backed by illusion. It's backed by the ad nauseum, by the psychology, by the fear factor. That's the other thing. A lot of people like to bring into other people's lives fear in order to keep control over them. This is nothing new. It's been going on for a hell of a long time. So, I hate to see it. I hate to see that, but it happens. Um, so I say that there are also values. Yes, Debbie, you're right. The repetitiveness makes it such. Our values, however, at least right now, are so far apart. Can they be ever brought back, or even in kind of closer proximity? I don't know. Um, I'm thinking that, we may or may never be able to get them aligned in any way. But one of the things that bothers me the most is that the idea that there are people in the United States who really want to have another civil war, who have said it, as much as said it. Um, you know, what is that value? How does that come across as someone's value? I don't understand, unless it's just that, it's either you like what I do or you don't hang out with me, or that we're gonna get rid of you, one or the other. Um, Renee, you're right about ownership of land. Um, Everything was pretty cool until people started saying that they wanted to own land. And once that comes into play, the land ownership thing, how can you own land? I mean, I have land. I own land out here. But if you think about it, the Native Americans had it best. They said, who owns land? Land is just here. Why do we have to own it? What is that all about? This was a number of years ago. People aren't going to agree with that now, of course. But, it is an interesting concept that not a lot of people have thought of in this generation, because we grew up when everybody always owned something, or they didn't own it, or they were buying it, or whatever. Um, yeah, you're right, Renee. For every one negative, it does take 10 positives to counter it. I agree. And even that doesn't even work so much anymore. I'm watching TV and I'm seeing that the coronavirus vaccine is not, they're asking people in different states, are you going to be taking the vaccine as soon as you can? And they're like, no. And they're giving all these reasons why they're not going to do it. Um, but they're not based on anything but um, what their perception is, or what it is they've heard about it, I guess. I don't know. But yes, free will does come into play, Debbie. Absolutely. We all have free will to do whatever we want. And we wouldn't want it any other way. That's what's given to us when we were incarnated. So we don't want free will to be taken away from us. We want our choices to be made. But yeah, but fear is really big. Yep. And you know, there are some people that say fear has been the ultimate. Um, it's been the ultimate thing that people have the control over. Whatever it is that they're bringing up brings up that fear. And that's been going on for ages and ages. But I've lived in it. I've lived in fear of, you know, people will say, um, not living in fear. I don't believe in the coronavirus, so I don't want to wear a mask. And yet other people are saying you don't have to wear a mask if everybody gets vaccinated. So anyway, it's everybody's choice. It's not I'm not here to tell anybody to get vaccinated. But what I really do believe is that we need to take responsibility for how we believe in something and not just take somebody else's word for it. Nobody's a guru. Nobody's any better than anybody else. Nobody has all the answers. And so it's really hard. It's hard to take ownership. There are people that are actually afraid to take ownership of their own decision-making process because they are afraid they'll be wrong. So if they ask somebody else and that person says, oh, you should do it, and then it goes wrong, then they can blame them for what they did, even though it was them that decided to listen to what they had to say. So I've seen that happen as well. I've seen people say, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. So then someone tells, you know, you what they think, or they're not telling you what to do. You have to make up your mind your own way. The other thing I remember too is that about decision making, when people say that they can't make a decision or they don't want to make that decision on their own or whatever it is, they're making the decision not to make a decision, if that makes any sense. So in other words, if you don't make a decision, then you're making a decision not to make a decision. And that's kind of tripping over words, but I've seen that happen many, many times. Yeah, Debbie, we do need fear to a certain extent. If I mean, it was built into us so that we could take care of ourselves during the old days in Stone Age, so that you know if somebody was going to come and get us, that we'd know. And we should follow our intuition. There are a lot of people that don't follow their gut instinct, their intuition, and actually, there's nothing more valuable to everybody than listening to their own intuition. So you know, it's very important. It's totally what we need to do. Um, so, Renee, these people have been brainwashed and programmed, blah, blah, blah. Okay. When you're saying these people, again, it sounds like othering. We got to be careful. Are you saying that some people have been brainwashed or programmed to believe the way they did, or with propaganda or whatever? Because I don't think all people are. And it's really difficult because I don't want to upset anybody. One of the posts that I had a while back sounded like it was an othering. A comment was made that was misconstrued as something that was othering, and I don't want to make anybody feel othered. Let's put it that way. I got to find out where Susan is. Let me see if I can look at my email for 1 second here. I don't know if she forgot. All right, now I can't find where I was. Sorry, hold on. There I am. Sorry. I'm thinking she might have forgotten. So I'll wait a little while longer, and if I'll give until 4:30 or so. I'm sorry if you came here to see her and she's not here. Um, Opposite of fear is love. Yeah, it really is. And I know you've heard those constructs, false evidence appearing real, as an acronym for fear. Um, and we kind of, I don't know, I think we were kind of brainwashed, or not brainwashed. Our parents had us believe in whatever the system was, the culture was going through at the time we were growing up. For instance, when I was growing up, you didn't have when I didn't have any worries. I would go out at night. I'd drive my car around. I'd do anything I wanted to do. Life was a little different. Even though there were people out there getting abducted, murdered, there were things happening, but nothing like we see today. But then maybe we just didn't hear about it. When my daughter was growing up, and she was born in the 70s, her life was a little bit different. She was a latchkey child, and she had that situation going for her. She didn't care for it very much, but I felt comfortable with that. But as we go along, we're seeing a lot of people changing things, and it's becoming very, very different. So your two boys played war games, but they're okay. Has a lot. Yeah, I agree with you, Debbie. Um, it's not easy being a parent. I mean, no, I don't care what age your child is. I mean, mine are in their 30s and 40s now, but you don't ever want to become overburdened and so on. And you think you're doing the best job you can, but you don't always know. You don't know for sure. So that happens. Um, but yeah, the line of communication does. I think there's a lot of people that probably should not be parents or don't do the best at being parents. And I don't know that I was really sure of what the task was going to be when I became a parent. I don't think I had any idea what I was dealing with, but everybody has different things that happened in their past. Um, you taught your kids the war games weren't real. A lot of kids are left in the game world. Yeah. That really is a frightening thought that people are sort of stuck in um, the world they inhabit in the virtual world. Um, I actually had to get off Facebook for that very reason. It wasn't that I was addicted to it, but I just felt like people were so rude, and people thought they could be rude, and it was really it was troublesome. I didn't feel comfortable there. I had to give that up and move along. So I like Instagram, but I find my community there, and I find my community here as well. And I just really appreciate all of you being in part of my community, because you bring me a lot of joy and makes me happy. But um, so Debbie, with the boys, suicide is high. Is that I don't blame you for not having Facebook. Um, I I really wish Susan was here right now, because I'd be asking Susan what the suicide um, explosion is right now. Are they people that sort of signed on to this life to just come in for a very short? Oh, you're in Australia. Ah, okay. 20 and under, trade workers. Okay. Well, we have a lot of drug issues here. I know several of my friends have lost their children to OxyContin overdoses and things like that. And they're usually in their 20s in that. Okay. Yeah. No, I think it is important to have an alternative space. Absolutely, Renee. So we do have that at the website, and also on Instagram with Tarot Love Community. Thank you. We do need that. But I think there's something, I don't know. I don't know if they are, what's the word I want to say? Indigo children, or there's some star seeds maybe, or something. And maybe they're coming in for short periods of time to learn lessons fast, and then leave and go back and be reincarnated later again or something. I have a very definite belief that all of us who are here made the conscious choice to come here in our lifetimes. Some of us waited longer than others in order to see how things were going. But I remember in the 90s being told that there was a whole breed of new children that were being born. And also, we were going to have a lot of earth changes and have a lot of people leave the planet. But then something happened, and a timeline shift occurred. And since time isn't linear. It's like it's always now or present moment time. It's very, very difficult to know exactly what um, what the purpose was for people to come in. I do remember having an astrological chart done when I was in my 20s, and it was fabulous because it was a karmic chart, and it told me lots of things that have either had already happened or already came true or are coming true now. And it was the best chart that I ever had. It even saw that my father had left the house when I was 2 years old, and that I had some problems with that. And he had gone in the hospital because he had tuberculosis, and he was in there for a long time. So it wasn't that he left the family for another reason. He left for the health reason, but they saw that all in my chart. It was amazing. So there were a lot of young men around who were born in the 90s are coming back from World War One. Oh, I like that, actually. Hi, Sharon. Welcome back. Um, I I resonate with that idea about the World War One idea. They're more sensitive. They're more comfortable with being themselves. My husband was just talking today about the difference also between the pandemic in 1919 or 18 and the pandemic now. The pandemic in 18, 19, whatever, took young people. So we either lost the young people. Welcome, welcome.
Hey.
Hey, I'm just talking about, I'm glad you came in at a perfect time. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. I thought we were meeting at 4, so I've been here for half an hour. Maybe I just didn't read it right, but I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. Don't worry about it. I've been talking, and then I said I wish Susan was here because we're talking about ego. We were talking about ego, and we were talking about duality and unification and all that. And then we got talking about young boys and families and parents and all that stuff. So one of the things that Debbie mentioned, and she lives in Australia, is that there's a huge group of people there that young men that are under 20, I believe she said, that are committing suicide, and a lot of it's drug trade and so on. And I said, well, we're having that too here, not but maybe into the 20s. And I was saying that perhaps they incarnated here for a short time to get their lessons done and then left. I don't know. I thought I'd ask you that. And the other thing was, let's see, it had to do with that as well. Oh, Debbie said that she had heard that some of the younger people born in the 90s are reincarnation of World War One soldiers or people. So maybe your guides can.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry. I thought we were meeting at 4:30, so I am so sorry.
It's my fault, probably.
No. Oh my gosh, this week has been crazy for me like that. Like everything is just nuts.
That's good,
So
though.
thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So you know what? When I tune into the energy of these kids that you're talking about, especially in Australia, that are younger people, you know, what I'm hearing is that they're basically they're star seeds. So they're
those are
kids
the ones.
that,
Okay.
yeah, so they're kids that have come in that haven't had a lot of reincarnations here. You know, it may be their 5th reincarnation or whatever, whereas maybe some of us have been here hundreds of times. And it's just really hard on them. It's very, very hard. Even if you're 40 and you're a star seed, or 50 or whatever, if you haven't incarnated here very often, it's really hard. The people I talk to in my readings, they have skin allergies, they have allergies, they don't feel like they belong in their families, they don't feel like they belong in our society. they don't feel that they are really in tune with the fear and the hate that's going on right now in our world, and it just, they don't want anything to do with it. It's not, it doesn't resonate with them, it doesn't
Yep.
feel good, so they just kind of check out.
And that could be done by drug enhanced overdose or whatever. Yeah, because it's always easier if you can tune in and tune out for something like that, I would imagine. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Do you sense at all that we may have some uh, World War I reincarnated
Oh, for
people?
sure. I talked to
Okay.
somebody today that was reincarnated from World War I. That's so funny that this stuff comes
Oh,
up, isn't it?
oh, it
There
does.
are
It
no,
does.
you know,
Yep.
there are no
No accidents. Yeah.
no accidents. So yes, of course she died young, and she was not young. She was, I think, about 23, 24, but she
Yeah.
was in the army in Britain.
Okay.
And so she was, yeah. So very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Keith had said he was reading an article about the difference in the deaths, and in 1919 flu, it was younger people that died, and
Mm.
in our flu, it's the older people that have, or the minorities, of course, as well. But yeah, so yeah, maybe those people came back and said, "Well, I got to live a full life this time." I don't know. I like
Let
to
me
think
tell
of it in
you.
a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something interesting, right, about the fact that we're incarnated right now. I mean, you have
Hmm.
to know that you're incarnated. If you're living right now, you did this for a reason, right? You're here
Right.
for a reason to experience this pandemic and all of these other things that are going on. And I would like to say that we're all light workers. The people watching
Oh
this
yeah.
video and the people on this video are light workers, and we incarnated here because we knew we would be needed. And I think a lot of us didn't come into our talents, our gifts, our abilities until later in life, because we knew how hard it was going to be. We kind of
Sure.
sat the first half out, if I know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. I spent a lot of time learning, but I didn't do much with it.
Right,
And
exactly.
yeah, and yeah, so now
It's almost
it's
like you were prepping, right? Like you were prepping
absolutely.
yourself, right? Like I
Yeah,
know I'm prepping myself, but you really don't know what for.
right, right. Um, so Debbie, you say, I know, but I feel like I fought like cats and dogs and didn't want to come. Oh, and I just read somewhere you don't have to if you don't want to. So next time you go on the other side and you don't want to come back, then you just tell them that. Must have they were dangling something for you, Debbie. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I think we get up there. Haven't you ever had a situation where somebody says, "Oh, can you help us with this? You would be so good at it, and I'm sure you can do this." And then we get up there and we go, "Yeah, I can do it. I can do it." And then we get down here and we're like, "What were we thinking?
I
What was
know how they caught us at a weak moment.
they caught us in a weak moment?" Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So um, that's awesome. Thank you for that sharing. I was also talking about how the thing in Atlanta. What I was
Gosh.
talking about was the fact that we have this duality and see othering and all these problems, and we're seeing it in political meetings of people like Chip Roy saying, in Texas, they say, bring a long rope and a tall tree. Come on, it just doesn't seem to go away for some reason. It seems like
No,
it perpetuates itself. But what happened was a prime example of othering this kid, and who knows, but how could it not be racially motivated? I have no
yeah,
idea, because
no,
almost
it
every
is.
single one of them was not white, I
It
guess.
is, yeah. I think it is. And he had that T-shirt virus, the virus is a China virus, whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you that almost everything is racially motivated right now. We're
it
so
is.
divided, right?
Yep, it is. It is. I even read something today that was very interesting. When I see that the students at community colleges go to ESL class, I don't teach ESL, but they go to ESL. They learn how to talk in English and so on. And they usually ask them, they give them an American name. And
Oh, really?
I never really thought about this before. But a lot of them will say, for instance, if they're from China or Taiwan or whatever, they'll say, my name is really hard to pronounce. You probably won't figure it out. Why don't you call me Mary or whatever it is? When they do that, I thought that they were doing it because they wanted to do it and that's what their nickname was or something. But no, they're being given an American name because it's a form of othering.
Yeah.
It really is. And I don't think we thought about it that way
No,
before. I never
no.
really did. But you're taking away heritage, you're taking away culture, you're taking away things. And we got to be so careful of that. And, I just had never really thought. And then I thought, oh my God, this is what I saw for years over and over again. Nobody would go by their Chinese, Japanese, whatever name. They would go by some American name. So,
Wow.
yeah. So Rob has something to say. Okay. Let me put this up on the. There we go. Coming into this world, how much we do? There you go. There's a question for you.
So fixing them or evolving or breaking the pattern, repeating the same things every elders don't serve us. I do ancestral issues. That's really interesting. What do you think about that, Aley?
Well, Renee had said here, she's on here, she says she thinks it depends on our soul contract. But I think there is something that has come out that says that we we carry our ancestors' trauma in our DNA, and that we have to work through that in this lifetime as well. Um, I I don't know. It makes sense.
It
I
makes sense.
guess. Yeah. Yeah.
And what you're talking about is scientific. I mean, they have scientific proof, right?
Right. Absolutely.
That we
Yeah.
carry the trauma in our genes, our genetics.
Right.
On rare occasions, I do get readings where I can sense that the person is carrying some sort of ancestral trauma. Well, I take that back. I had a reading today where this woman was carrying basically psychic pain in
Mm-hmm.
her lower back from many lifetimes before,
Lifetimes ago.
and
Mm-hmm.
also rooted in finances, because our lower back, that chakra is about being safe, and a lot of times financial issues will come up there.
Absolutely.
So in that way, it depends on how you define ancestral, right? If you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about if you're talking about white people, we've got some problems going forward. But if you're talking
Yes.
about me and my ancestry, my lineage, then that's a different thing. But if you're talking about big ancestry, boy,
Yeah.
we got some things to work out.
We definitely do. Yeah. Yeah. Even though a lot, even some of it, let's say, that was no fault of that person. For instance, my grandmother died when my mother was 5 years old, and it really destroyed my mother's life in a lot of ways. Well, that wasn't my mother's fault,
right?
But she carried that thing with her, and it really made her it made a mess. And then I know I have some of that, and I know I gave my daughter some of that,
Right.
because that's the way it goes. And
Right.
you don't intend to do anything like that, but it can happen that way.
It's
Yeah.
insidious in a way, right?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a show that I saw last night on, I think it was on Netflix, or it was, yeah, I think it was Netflix, and it was, or HBO, and it was Dr. God or something like that. And it was about a man who inseminated, he was a doctor, he inseminated all these women, but he did it with his own sperm. And
Oh
so,
my
but
God.
you didn't have the DNA testing that could be done,
Oh my
beforehand.
God.
Yeah. So, the people only found out because of Ancestry.com and having a DNA test. So they have like 140 brothers and half brothers and sisters all over the place. They said there's been about 200 doctors that have done this over time.
Oh my
This
God.
man, the last time he inseminated somebody, he was 73. Yeah. So I don't believe I think he did it with a like, yeah,
Right.
he wasn't raping them,
Right.
but in a
Right.
way he was. Yeah,
Right, right. Which I
definitely.
think is why they said inseminate. Wow. And
Right.
what apropos God, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this God syndrome, God,
Correct.
people are
Yeah,
crazy.
they are crazy. So think about the DNA and the trauma of those elders
Imagine that. Yeah.
on those people, and they didn't even know. And yeah, so kind of a creepy feeling, but um,
Yeah, I'll say.
but yeah, that was one of the things, when I bring in, I'm working to try to bring in my own guides, which is taking me forever, and angels and ancestors and light workers and or light people or whatever. Um, and I feel like there are some things that definitely need to be healed, and that's looking at shadow. That's the other thing I've been looking at lately. Where in my shadow do I have to keep, what do I have to keep finding, or find where I need to work on myself? Because it's really endless. It's something you have to do.
I feel like
So
we do it until we die. I feel
I
like
agree.
if you're not, trying to evolve basically
Right.
spiritually or whatever,
Yep.
that's something that you probably should be doing until you cross over.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. All right. So I'm going to put up another one here. T Barb says, my daughter and I working together manifested a house. Oh, you did? Oh, that's awesome. Oh, oh my goodness.
Congratulations.
Yes,
That's
fabulous.
wonderful.
We love to hear that. That is,
Yes,
yeah, that's just fabulous. Good for you.
absolutely.
And
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
uh-huh. So we have Renee, the
Yeah,
human
Renee,
mind
you're
is,
right.
yes. And Susan, yeah. Anybody else has anything that's coming up that they want to ask Susan, let me know. In the meantime, I'm just going with what I got here. So let's see. All right. Um, I have a question about Antarctica.
Okay.
Um, you're trying to get your, Debbie's trying to get her 23-year-old to move out. Oh my God, I've lived it. I understand. We'll try to help you manifest that. Okay. So anyway, Antarctica. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you probably are. That it's melting. We're talking about a lot of global warming issues, but they just found some, like they went down as far as they could, and they're like finding grass and seeds and flowers and trees, and they believe that it could be part of Atlantis. That's where they're thinking Atlantis might be. Don't know.
Really?
Yeah. There's buildings, they say, underneath there. I don't know if that's true. You ask any questions you want, Barb.
I
Susan's a medium.
I totally, I'm sure there's buildings under there. I mean, that was land at what point that wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Everything was switched, right?
Right.
Uh, Boy, and aren't there some lessons for us in what's buried in that ice? Not only are there archaeological lessons, but there's things that, viruses or whatever
Oh,
that
yeah.
have been frozen, right? And
Correct.
so it's going to be interesting. It's Pandora's box. I just heard my guide say it's Pandora's box. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Think
I
about that.
I think it's a fabulous thing to think about and imagine. And I think it's awful that we're going through global warming. I don't want that to happen. I want us to be more ecologically, sustainable. But almost like it had to happen in order for us to. That's how I'm feeling. Like this thing had to happen for us to find this. So, wow.
It's like a
Wow.
self-discovery journey, really. I mean, all of these things, right? With the pandemic, we had the opportunity to love each other. We had the opportunity, or we still have the opportunity to,
Mm-hmm.
protect each other by wearing masks. I mean, there's so many lessons in all of this stuff.
Right, right. But we have to be willing to listen to them. And sometimes I don't think we think about that very often because we have other things to do. But I think it would be a treasure trove. I'm a big TV watcher, so I watched something else about a woman in Britain who had excavation underneath on her land. This is like in the 30s or the 20s or something, and they found a whole boat and all kinds of stuff from a like I want to say before the Vikings or something, and they learned a whole bunch of new history from that. So, I
Fantastic.
think that a lot of things we just don't know because we haven't uncovered it yet.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
That's exactly
absolutely.
right. I see
Okay,
T Barb has another question.
there you go. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Well, you know what? I have something that might help you a little bit. I mean, let's face it, it's a difficult situation. I talk to people
it
at
is.
least once a day in readings that are trying to deal with this same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I can tell you about the Q people, well, obviously you can't, doesn't help to tell them that they're wrong. It doesn't help to show them the facts. I mean, it's just, that's not going to work. So I heard somebody, I think it was a sociologist, said this, and I think this is brilliant. She said, instead of talking to them about those things, about, anything to do with politics or anything like that, they said, skip over that and go back to memories that you can share with them that happened before Donald Trump, and preferably even your childhood. So keep the relationship going by, remember that time we went on vacation and dad left something on the roof of the car? Back to those memories that are funny, that were when you guys were still together, as closer as a family. That will help. And then the other thing my guides tell me to do is that we have to be patient. We have to be patient. And if you can, and I know this is not always possible, believe me, but if you can, keep your heart open and keep doing those overtures that don't have anything to do with any of that. And that, because chances are they're going to hit bottom. I mean, I talk about this all the time, where what has to happen is these people will at some point find out that they've been duped. They'll find out that they've been lied to, and then they're going to have a lot of shame, right? Then they're going to be really embarrassed and shameful. And then some of these people are going to possibly lose their job, lose their professional accreditation, lose their business, whatever it is. And they're going to lose a lot. And that's when they're going to turn around to us, to all of us, and they're going to say, oh my God, I've been a fool. I can't believe it. And they're going to be despondent. And that's that's why we're here. That's the whole
Right.
reason we're here. So that's when we go to them and we say, it's okay. We love you
Yeah,
anyway, and we love you, and let's help you move on. So
absolutely.
hopefully that helps a little bit, T Barb. I mean, it's not easy. It is not easy. I know it's not easy. And I know you worry about them. I mean, I worry about them. Like how
Mm-hmm.
can they, what is their mental, fitness? What is their mental
Mm-hmm.
acuity,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I really, it's very concerning.
But it's the same. It's very much the same thing as people who go into those cults, right?
Yes.
And they're programmed. I
Yes.
wonder if there will be places that these people will be able to go to once they do come to their awareness that can deprogram some of this and not make it a stigma, make it more, that these things happen because they do, you know? Yeah.
My guide showed me those deprogramming centers,
Okay.
like when you have a regular rehab. I don't know why Depelchin. Well, I don't know, but anyway, they have those rehab centers, and they'll open up a wing, and that
Okay.
would be programming centers. And I think there's going to be so many people going to those that I think some of the stigma will hopefully be gone. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's an
so they showed me
addiction.
there would be deprogramming centers. And I want to say something else that my guide said, and I haven't talked enough about this because this is a really big deal, and I want to put it out there. But my guides told me that there's some subliminal messaging going on. Subliminal messaging that's being played behind even YouTube videos, commercials, even on Fox News. It's subliminal. It's illegal,
Right.
but it's illegal until we catch them, right?
Right.
So if there's subliminal messaging going on, then these
Uh,
people really are being programmed. I mean, literally being targeted. So I
right.
mean, it's another way to kind of have compassion for them.
Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, we go to the movies and they would have the dancing candy boxes and go get a Coke and
Right.
go get it. And then they made them really quick, subliminal. And I would see everybody get up at a certain time and go buy more
That's
candy or more
true.
food. And so I know that this is, and it is illegal, but that doesn't mean that, we have a lot of people doing a lot of illegal things. So,
Exactly.
but it's very scary. Wow. Oh my. Um, it just made me think too about Putin. I don't know because
Yes,
he's Mr.
that's right.
And he's now challenging Joe Biden to have a one-on-one. And a lot of the Russians are saying that Biden has dementia and that he's lost his mind. And of course, you know who brought that up. But I'm wondering about how that's all going to solve itself. Somebody said, can't remember who it was, maybe it was Linda G. She saw Putin out, but
Yeah.
I don't, do you? Do you also see him out?
I do
Yeah.
see him out. I do see him
Uh-huh.
out.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, right? Because he's really powerful
Right.
and mean.
Right. Yes,
but
he is. Yeah.
but money, money, and we see this in the United States too, right? To a degree, the businesses couldn't get on board with Trump because he was hurting their business, and
Right.
money trumps everything. So I think
Sure.
with Putin, it's the same thing. I think the moneyed interest in Russia will start to see, well, we're going to put sanctions on him again.
I
Biden
know.
has no patience for Putin, none.
Right. I know.
Um, so I think
And that's okay.
that's going to push Putin to the side.
Sure.
And then again, you wonder who's going to come in behind him, because that could
Yeah.
be worse, right? We don't
Very
know.
definitely. Yeah, very definitely. I do want to see Tanya Longus says she's here from Sweden, so I do want to say hello to her. I didn't want her to think I was.
Yay!
I want to
Thank
go
you
to
for joining us.
Sweden. Oh yes, I want to go to Sweden. Um, Now there's something else I have, and it's personal for me, but it's probably other people that are on this thread may have some problem with this themselves. But I have a lot of student loans, a lot, and I just heard today that the Biden administration is going in. I guess they've just released several $billions in student loans to people that had applied for relief during Betsy DeVos, and she changed the rules and all that crap. And anyway, do you see anything else with student loans coming up, or are we going to have to wait? What do you think?
That's interesting. I think they're going. What I feel like, it's really hard because we have the Republicans and they stop everything, right? But what I feel like Biden would like to do is, hold on,
Take
they're
your time.
talking. So I guess that, okay, I see. Okay, I see. What Biden wanted to do was bring the loans into the federal government. You remember when they were all backed by the federal government? I mean,
Yeah.
loans
Mm-hmm.
weren't private. They
Right.
weren't, loan sharks. You could have a decent, a very low interest rate,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's, privatized, right? So
Right.
what Biden wanted to do was bring them back into the federal government, have the federal government make a deal with the loans, and then just make them back into a public. But what he's going to do instead is he's going to, with the help of some people in Congress, and I'm looking at like Katie Porter, I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
AOC, of course, Bernie, some of those people are going to basically regulate the student loan organizations until they scream for mercy, and then require them to reduce the interest rate, right?
Yep.
So I think that's going to benefit. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but reducing that interest rate would actually benefit people tremendously, because I know people that have paying for 20 years and their loan principal hasn't gone down. I mean, to me, that's basically a loan shark. You just went to get a loan from a loan shark,
Right.
So
Right.
yes, it has to be done. They're going to regulate it. They're going to squeeze them until they start acting right. And I think they're going to threaten to take away some of their licensing. You know, I think they're going to regulate them and take away some of their licensing to give these loans. And they're going to ask them to self-regulate. Whether that really works, I think at least it's a first step.
Sure. Something's got to happen. Yeah.
Something has to happen. It's the same thing with healthcare. We can't go on like this with healthcare either.
Oh, so. No, we can't. No, you're right. Yep.
So, oh, yeah, filibuster.
I don't know if that's going to, it sure would help. We'd get some things done. Of course, they'd say it was all us pushing them around. But
I feel like when I ask the guides right now, they say, the way they're reading the energy right now is we're not going to get rid of the filibuster, but by putting pressure on McConnell and maybe even making them talk the whole filibuster the way they used to have to when they had to talk 24 hours or something like that. I don't remember. Right. It'll become less used. It won't, you know, we need to get to the point where we can go back to the simple majority, except for in extreme cases, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it was made for. I kind of think we need to just get rid of it. But you know, I don't, what they're telling me is they won't get rid of it, but we will make changes to it.
Right. Right. Well, and that there's a start. We haven't been able to do anything for such a long time. So hello, Ingla. Do you have any questions at all for Susan? Welcome. Oh, thank you everybody for your questions. Let's see. Have you ever used a pendulum, Susan? Do you use a pendulum? Do you find that it's helpful for things that you need yes and no answers to, or?
I do, but I'll say that that brings up a bigger question about energy. When you're using the pendulum and you're asked, does everybody know what a pendulum is? I don't know if I have it right here or not. Yeah, I do. A pendulum basically looks like this. I mean, it can look like anything, right? I mean, you could use anything, but it's a crystal on a chain, and then the top of the chain, this particular one has a different. So you see how it swings back and forth. So basically, you hold it still, and then you ask it to show you a yes or a no, and it'll start moving. Okay, it really does start moving. But I do want to point out that pendulums, that, you know, you have to make sure that you're connected to the right energy. If you're not really connected to white light energy, even your Uncle Harry from the other side could be influencing this pendulum. So a lot of times you'll ask a question, right, to check your pendulum. Is my name Susan? Or, you know, do I live in Texas or something, you know, just to test it. But what I started doing, instead of using pendulums, I encourage you guys all to try this, is I've just started saying, get a question. It has to be very simple. It has to be a very simple question, and it has to be a yes or no question. And then basically you just say, should I buy a new car? Yes or no. And then write down the first thing that you think, the very first thing that you think that comes into your mind. So to test that, should I buy a new car? Yes or no. You know, like maybe I want a new car, so I'm hearing yes. And then maybe the next question is, can I afford to buy a new car? Yes or no. So you see how you're kind of testing that, right? Yeah. Or, you know, whatever, but you can really go through and just say yes or no. You can practice this in your own life and use this a lot, you know, for, you know, should I turn right or left to go? If you can take both directions and get to the same place, you know, just start questioning and asking your guides, because they'll start to come in, and then you'll start recognizing that.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing to do. I'm going to try that. I'm trying as much as I can when I can. So Debbie has another question for you about Australia. I know that they've had their own issues down there with their prime minister too, I believe, but I don't know that much about it. So.
Surprisingly, we all, you know, I was just talking to somebody from London this morning about Brexit, you know, and we all kind of have these right-wing people in charge. I don't know what's going on. So are you asking me if, when you say the other party, tell me, is there only one other party running against? Because I need to be very clear about the question I ask. Is there only one other party that's running against the current party in office? That's
Yes,
my
Debbie
question.
says yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, when is the election? I'm stalling because I hear no. I hear no, and I'm sorry to say that, but I don't hear that the other party will win. Is it for the president or premier, or is it for your
Okay.
parliament or something?
They
Liberal
have the
Party and Labor Party. We have the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. He hasn't called it yet. The Liberals are in. Okay.
Okay.
But he hasn't called it yet. So then if he had you're saying the Liberals are in, then that means it's kind of like us. I know it's a global mob. The prime minister. Okay, the prime minister. So are you saying that it's predicted that the Liberals will win and they haven't called it yet? Because if that's the case, it means the conservatives are not going to win.
Oh, it could be too soon. Okay.
Who's in the party right now? The conservatives? I think the conservatives are like the prime minister right now as a conservative. If I'm PM 4 years, I could just ask the question, will the Liberals be in power? Wow, I don't get that.
So you're seeing more the Labor Party?
I'm getting more.
Which would be like our Republicans? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not feeling like.
Oh, the Liberals are conservatives. Oh, really? Now, see, we don't have it that way. It's our opposite here.
Because I'm seeing that either conservatives or the Labor win. I'm seeing it not completely liberal. I'm seeing it more, will the Liberal Party be reelected again in 2021? Okay, will the Liberal Party be reelected? That's a better question. Thank you. Will the Liberal Party be elected again? It's going to be close, you guys. It's going to be really close. I feel like if you have if they're really liberal, they're not going to win. If they're more moderate liberal, then they're going to win. The Australians want moderate. That's what I'm hearing right now. They don't want the far right. They don't want the far left. Kind of like Biden, right? In some ways. Really and truly, I think Biden is very moderate. So I feel like that's what the Australian people want, is they just want moderate. They don't want to go to one side or the other.
One side or the other. Yeah. Wow. Well, a lot. It's very interesting. And look at Boris. I mean, he was just like Trump. I know. It's funny how all these people came to power at the same. So to me, that brings in a lot of astrological stuff in my mind. But wow.
I think there's a lot of components, astrological, and also you can't underplay Russia's role in a lot of this, in their social messaging, their social media messaging, and all of their psychological operations. They've really, I feel like they are the ones that caused Brexit. They wanted to blow Britain up. They wanted to blow the United States up. This is how they've done it without firing a shot.
So there's that whole idea again of saying something over and over enough times to make people believe in it. Yeah. Wow.
No problem, Debbie. Politics is confusing for everybody.
Yeah. And yet I'm still really happy we've talked about a lot more things here. So I do want to bring this up. When I started this out, there was only about 2 people here, but I wanted to let you know that Susan and I are going to be doing this, and we're going to do it on my channel this time. Next week, we're going to be on Susan's channel. And what we want to do is, we call it Speaking to Spirit. And we want to speak to Spirit, but we want to answer some of your questions. And we don't want them just to be about politics, because there are other things that we feel are important as well. But we're going to try to come up with different topics. Isn't that what we talked about, Susan?
Yeah,
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 different topics
absolutely.
for the week. So if you have any suggestions or things that you'd like to talk about, like I brought up the pendulum today, maybe we could talk about something else. Maybe we could talk about seances or so. I don't know. But anyway, if you have anything like that that you want, then please do that, because that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. Susan is hard to catch sometimes because she's a busy lady, but
I
that's
am
good
so
news.
sorry. I don't know
No,
what
no,
happened. I'm
no, no,
so
no. Don't be.
sorry.
No,
I
no.
am
I
so
don't
sorry.
mean it that way. I just mean that I know you're busy from the moment you get up in the morning until you go to bed, and actually that's good. But you do have to take some time for Susan as well.
I
So
do. I do.
yeah.
That's something we
Uh
could talk about. We could talk about
huh.
self-care. The
Self
guides want to
care.
talk about that all
Absolutely.
the time. How to raise your vibration is a really good topic that I
Yeah.
think if the guides had their choice, they would talk about raising your vibration and self-care, because those two things go together. As
Yes.
we raise our vibration, we can fight back. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
It doesn't might not make sense, but by raising your own vibration, you raise the vibration of your surroundings, and then you
Everything.
have more energy to give to raising the vibration of your community and your
Hmm.
state and your country and the world. So
Plus,
take
you
care
have
of
more,
yourselves.
and you have more awareness of the gifts that you have, because we all have something. We just don't have, we don't think we do, but we have a gift,
Oh, for sure.
and we can tap into it, but we have to work. It takes work, but it takes non-work, I guess, because we
It's
want to just let
true. That's a
let
good
it
way
be.
to put it. It's a
so
good way
self
to put it.
so self-care would be the way to do the work, and then see what comes from that.
I
So
promise you, that's the quickest way to get there, guys. Take self-care is the best way.
absolutely.
Be expert live animals to minimize stages. Ooh, yucks. What kind of live animals? Wow.
Ooh.
Um,
It,
I
Debbie, do
wish I
they
could
are
say
they
it's gonna
also
start.
for like for clothing or um eating or yeah.
Zoos, maybe, or just the exotic pet trade,
Oh yeah.
because
And cattle. Okay.
sheep and cattle. Okay, compromise. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I do not think that's going to stop anytime soon. I'm sorry to say, but I do think what's going to happen is because of COVID and because of a lot of other things that are probably going to happen, we're going to start taking better care of livestock. We're going to start taking better care of animals in general, because honestly, even I'm not a vegetarian, but I got to tell you, there's a groundswell of people wanting to become vegetarians. And I mean, I kind of want to become one as well. And,
Mm-hmm.
the more that you can see it, because in our grocery stores, you can actually find, I mean, can't you guys find meat looking things in the meat aisle?
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do they call it? Beyond beef or something right there
Hmm.
in Texas next to the hamburger. That's a big thing, guys. So
Oh, in
the
Texas,
fact
yes. Yeah.
that's a big thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
the people want this. So that's going to cause these, exporters of cattle and sheep and things to take better care of them. And in that way, maybe they won't export quite as many too, because the demand will drop off.
Correct. Um, I think she says they're treated horrifically. And I would say that our animals in the factory farming in the United States are treated horrifically as well.
Horrific.
If you
Horrific.
watch any of those movies, which you wouldn't want to, because it's horrible.
It's horrible.
They don't get up and walk. They just sit and fatten them up and fatten them up, and they're chained, and then, they know they can smell the death. They can. It's just really awful. But I do think there is a groundswell. I don't think if anybody says, "Oh, we all need to do this," that would be very popular, because
Right.
I know people don't want, people make their own choice. But I would like to see more compassionate, if there is such a thing, compassionate handling. Yeah, I know it's hard. I just hate seeing anything with a face going in, putting within. Whoops,
I know.
sorry. Yeah,
I know.
whoop, yeah. Beef doesn't. Oh no, that's very true. My mother was always afraid of that Soylent Green movie. Oh my God, she had nightmares over that when that came out. Did you ever see that movie, Soylent Green? No, it was about the future and how uh, people, when they died, nobody knew it, but they got processed into
Oh, right,
biscuits,
right.
and at the end, that's when Charlton Heston, Soylent Green is people. But yeah, she, you could almost
Look,
say that that's very
you,
close. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. Well, I mean, and there is also a huge trade also of people. Yeah, isn't it a classic? It is. There's a huge trade of people also that are on the dark web that deal with selling kidneys and organs and all that other stuff. This stuff exists. It really does
yes,
exist. It's
it
not
does
made
exist.
up. I wish we could handle those things that were real and move away from the things that people are perceiving to be real, but probably aren't.
Oh my
So,
God, such a good point.
yeah, yeah,
Such a good point, right?
yeah.
Yeah, they've made a boogeyman that doesn't even exist.
Correct,
And
correct.
meanwhile, we've got all these terrible things happening.
Right.
Oh, it's terrible. It's
And
a
we're not
diversion.
doing it. It is a diversion. But I mean, there are people that are being out there and traded children, sex slaves, or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
There are things like that that need to be handled. And this dark web thing, I had a student do a research paper on the dark web and the things that he found. I mean, there was even people, they were selling any kind of drug you wanted. And I think they finally caught that guy and he's in jail for the rest of his life. But, there are things out there that, they sound made up, but they're not. Those things are real. So, yeah, I know.
That's why we need to support these investigative journalists that go on the dark web and hang out in these chat rooms to bring us the information that's happening in the dark,
That's
like
right. That's
ProPublica
right.
or different groups, because it has to be terrible for their mental mind, to
Absolutely.
be witnessing that information all the time.
All the time. There used to be a TV show, you probably remember it back in the 90s, I think it was, and it was investigative, and they had like a young girl and they bring the predator, catch a predator, I think it was called, and they
Oh
bring the
my God.
predator to the house and they would catch them, the investigative people, and
God.
like some of them were
Oh,
rabbis and priests and things like
oh.
that. And they don't do that now, but I'm sure there's a whole group of people out there trying to clean that up within their investigations. So, wow. Yeah, again, it is diversion. Don't clean up the darkness, turn on the light. I like
I
that, I
agree.
am.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. It's
That's
hard though when you turn on that. Listen, isn't that what's happening now, right? When I feel like all these politicians and the Russian connection and all these things that the light's being shined on, it's almost like when you turn on the light in a basement and all the cockroaches go running and you don't want to look. You're like, no, I almost
yeah.
don't want to look. It's like,
I know.
do
I
we
know.
really want to know? It's like you said, Allie, like some of the people they caught were rabbis and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
just, oh my gosh, and then what does it make you do? It makes you recoil. It makes you fearful. It makes you believe that the world is a horrible, dark place. So you
yeah.
have to balance it. It's very hard.
It is
I
because you
think
could be
it's
very cynical, very, very cynical, and
hard, right?
hate everybody and not believe that there are good people in the world. And there are. There
And
are
there
good
are.
people. Yeah. Yep.
It's hard.
Um, all right. Rob has a question.
Right. So they're going back to the thing. Well, they are saying get involved in your local community. They are saying that. Um, this has been something that they want to talk about a lot too. Right next to self-care, they want us all to get involved in our local communities. They talk a lot about as soon as you can safely, right? I mean, you don't want to go out and put yourself at
Hmm.
risk, but as soon as you can safely, they want to talk a lot about kids, about if you're inclined to work with kids, if you can work with 9, 10 to 15-year-olds and just do anything with them, help them to read, tutor them in math, tutor them in art, go to a local boys and girls club or a local community center and just give your time, even if talk to them about
Hmm.
careers, anything, because these kids are lost, right? They had a whole lost year with no school. some of their grandparents have passed over because of COVID, and their parents are having to work twice, 3 times as hard, or they're at home where they're really depressed and angry. So, guys, in about 10 years, these kids are going to be our teachers, police officers, garbage collectors, whoever they're going to be.
Right.
They're going to be, we need to help them. So kids would be one thing, getting involved in your local community, delivering meals on wheels, working at a pantry, a food pantry, picking up trash, anything you can do literally in your community will lift the vibration of your community. And again, the guides want to say, start local. It really does impact the bigger vibration of the whole world. If we all raise our own vibrations, the whole thing is going to raise up. You know what I mean? So hopefully, Rob, that answered your question. Let me know if you have more questions about that, or you need, clarification.
I would just like to interject that as a college teacher who loves to read and loves literature, I would love to see more kids read to. I would love to see book drives done. I'd love to, because I think that the technology is fabulous and it's great, but I see a generation of students who don't know how to write. They don't know how to read or don't like reading. And they're going to get to college like I have right now, and they're going to say, well, I don't like to read, so what am I going to do? And I can't now get them to like reading. They're like 19 or 20, so if you can start early, and that's just my own personal thought. Interestingly enough, I remember saying at the Super Bowl, I think I said this the other day, when the Super Bowl used to come out, I'd say, why don't they have a literature bowl? Why don't, what?
Right.
And then Amanda Gorman came on and gave her poem this year.
Oh my God.
And I got chills. I know. It was like, thank you. They heard me.
My God.
See? Yeah, I know. And she's so fabulous. She's just wonderful. And I know she inspires a lot of people. So something like that, something small, really makes a big difference. So, yeah, it was really cool that happened. I said it probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it came.
And I want to add artist, because she's also an artist. And for me, during this time of not having access to museums or art galleries, which I love, I feel like artists help us, right? They help us make sense. If you go all the way back to castles and they had the jokers and the different people, they helped make sense of the current situation, right? And we have them today. They're just helping us put things in reference and understand things through music, through art. So I'm so thrilled. And what a difference a president makes, right? Oh, all of a sudden we got a normal president, and look what we got, a poet laureate.
I know. It's fabulous. And I did see that there's a new Van Gogh experience that's coming to different, and you can go in and it's all around, it surrounds you. Oh, it's coming to Houston? Oh, that's awesome. I saw the Romanoff jewelry collection when I lived in Houston. That came to Houston, and it was amazing. There's some wonderful stuff.
Art is such an amazing thing. And I hope when we can all move about the country again, that we all go out and support local artists and museums and plays and symphonies and concerts and all of those things. It's really going to make you feel great. That's another way to raise your vibration.
It's part of the humanities, which is, we are all human. Right. And if we don't include that, it's okay. STEM is great. Other things are great, but in order to be human, we the human experience, it's extended to all the arts, and how important that really is. So good. And I want to say who had their shot. Now I can't find it. Oh, I had her Johnson & Johnson. Okay, good for you. We're seeing lots of that going through. Yeah. All right. So here's oops, where did it go? I just had a comment. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Wow. That's great. I am about your gym receptionist reading The Color Purple. That gives me hope.
I know. I'm thrilled. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Homeschooling, autistic grandkids better than school. They love it. Yes.
They're they're the right people to be homeschooled if it was to continue. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And there are some benefits, right? I mean, we have to take the good,
Oh, yeah.
and put that in our little basket. And then, the bad stuff, that's the stuff we want to let go of. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that your autistic grandsons are doing so well at home. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, wow. It is. It's nice that and you're enjoying it. And that makes so much. That's nice. So your real name is Isis? I love it.
Ah, that's cool.
That is very cool. That is very cool. Wow. Well, I'm going to suggest that we have a couple more questions, maybe, and then, um, unless you have something, Susan, that you would, I don't want to cut us off here. If you have something that you feel, I think it's really important that you brought up the self-care idea and also the local community idea. I'd like us to talk more about that as we go along. I think that it's important. You could never talk about it too much, you know.
You're
And
right. Let me
yeah.
just tell people. People always ask me, "What does that mean?" God bless
Okay.
us all, but we don't know. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we're just used to taking care of other people, most of us, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
for self-care, it could be something like basically what your guides want you to do is do something for you. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. Going to the gym, is self-care. That's one way of self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a hot bath, maybe with some essential oils, is self-care. Reading a good book, taking the time out of your day to read a book or to watch a funny movie or to take a walk outside is self-care. And then specifically, I'll give you this is really important. When I was telling somebody today that the energy this week feels like a class 5 rapid, like a whitewater rapid. If you've ever seen those
Oh, yeah.
rapids that, those boats just go up and down and get thrown in the air, that's what the energy feels like.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, or any time in your life that you're just having a rough spell, whatever is happening in your life, it just seems to be kind of tough on you right then. If you can afford it, if you have the money set aside to do this, go get a massage, go get a Reiki healing, go get sound healing. If you guys know what
Mm-hmm.
sound healing is, you lay on
Yep.
a massage table and they put singing bowls on your chakras and they play them. And it is the most
Oh,
amazing, mind-blowing thing. Do it. If
wow.
you ever
Yeah.
find a sound healer in your area, I highly, highly recommend it. Another healing thing is sometimes sound healers will have sound healing events where they'll play 20 bowls at once and then everybody lays on the floor with their head towards the bowls. Sound is
Mm-hmm.
very healing and it can break up energy if you feel stuck. It
Yeah.
can break that energy up. So can Reiki. If you go in, say, I need to remove, I need to release, So
Yeah.
go do those things, those healing modalities. They can really help you.
And also, I can't wait to get a pedicure. I'm sorry. I just really
Pedicure,
like them.
manicure,
Yeah. Yeah.
haircut.
Yeah. Anything.
In
Yeah.
Britain, they still can't get their hair cut. Did you know that? Can you imagine?
I haven't had mine done at all for a year and a half now, or whatever it is. But
Those things are really
yes,
important.
Isis, you're right. People do feel guilty doing self-care, but we don't need to, because how can we care for others if we don't care enough about ourselves? So I throw in a nap. A nap is another thing.
Yes,
A
that's
hot
self-care.
bath,
Yes,
whatever. It doesn't have to a cup of tea, sitting
yes,
by yourself or whatever.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why it's important. Remember those days when we could get on airplanes? Right? And they say, if the oxygen mask drops down, you have to put it on yourself first, because if you
Right.
put it on your child first, you're going to be passed out in the aisle. Your child
And
is
they
going to
don't know
have
how to put it on you.
nobody to take care of them.
Right.
Nobody to take
Yeah.
care of them.
That's
So,
a
and then the
that's
other
a
thing
great
is you
one.
can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help all those people you're supposed to take care of if you're sick, if you're tired. You can't help them. So
Right.
helping you is going to make you a better mother. It's going to make you a better care provider. It's going to make you a better employee. It's going to make you a better business leader. It's going to make you a better citizen. So that's why you should do it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I do. And I really, it's taken me a long time to get to that point, but probably within the last 5 years, I said self-care is everything. So I agree.
It really is, guys.
Yes. All right. So Marge did have a question. I put it up here so I wouldn't forget it and
Yeah,
it wouldn't
thank
go
you.
by. So Marge has a question. Yeah.
Will my cousin and her kids end up having, is there anything I can do to help her? Will my cousin and her kids have happy lives? That's a heavy question. So I gather, looking at their energy, that they're going through some things right now, that they're going through some challenges, I guess is what I would say. How can you help them? You know what? You can help them by checking in on them. And I need to know, I feel like you live nearby, like you could, or at least you don't live hours away. I feel like you could physically be with them. Is that true? Tell me if that's not correct. But what I see is you taking the load off by just saying, let me take the kids today and go to the park, right? Or something about laundry. Like you could say, let me come over while you're at work and help you with your laundry. Little things like that can really be big. They can really add up to a big help.
Good.
So it's been, let's see, that's not Marge. We live close. Okay, great. Yeah. So if you can do those things, and I'm not saying, Marge, you have to be careful that you don't become, you don't exhaust yourself, right? Number one, it's not your job. It's not your role to save them. But if you would like to help them, there are ways you can do that. And what my guides are telling me, your guides are telling me is that she could use some help with transportation. Like one kid may need to go here, especially as we go into summer, or maybe just take the kids, like I said, and go to the park and just give them some space to be kids, right? To get outside of the stress and just let them run around and be kids without all that heavy things that's going on in the house. That's just part of the stressful situation. Does that make sense?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I like that. I am that halt. That's good. I love it.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm not always hungry, but that's sometimes the first thing I try. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to eat.
We should all print that out and put it on our desk or something. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And the guides are saying the answer is water. For every one of those things, water, yes, water. Yes, water.
There you go. There you go. That's funny. Oh, Marge says she's been thinking about giving her car. There you go. That's what you just said, didn't you? That
transportation. Yeah. Been thinking about giving her my car. If you can do that without it being a real drain on you, yes, absolutely. They're telling me you have to be careful. You have to make sure she can afford the insurance, or will you insure it? You know what I mean? So like when you give somebody something, there's costs that go with that sometimes they can't afford the cost either. Right. So I just feel like this woman is like, it's really hard to deal with everything that's going on. So if you're comfortable paying the insurance, you may want to do that for a year, or just make sure that she can pay for the insurance of the car. But that's very sweet of you to do that. Awesome. I think that's a way of empowering her, right? Instead of going and taking the kids for her, giving her the car empowers her to do those things herself.
Right. So that will put her on her feet.
Yeah.
And then remind her too that she has to have self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I was saying, if you go and do her laundry for her, or if you take the kids for her, that might give her 4 hours on a Saturday where she can do housework, right? Or she can take care of herself, or do whatever she needs to do to de-stress her life.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Well, that's kind, Marge. And
that's very kind.
It is kind, very kind. And it just shows how much your love is. So, well, I think this was a fabulous time we had today. And I thank everybody.
Guys.
Yes, thank you all for coming. And we'll see you. So next, I can't remember what time we said. Anyway, it's Thursday next week that we're doing something. So yes. Susan will have it up, I guess, and be ready to go. Yeah.
I will have
So,
it up and I'll share it with you. And I promise I'll be on time. I'm so
and it's
sorry,
probably
you
me
guys.
because I'm always early. So it might be
I,
my mistake. So I don't want you to worry about it for
well,
one
that,
second.
30 minutes early is not being early. That's my time. The time got mixed up. So I apologize to everybody,
It's
but it was
okay.
great to be with you
It
guys.
was.
Thank you
It
guys
was.
so much.
Uh-huh.
Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And what are we going to do? Self-care.
Absolutely. I'm up. I'm for that. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week on Susie's
Bye. Thank
channel.
you
Bye bye.
guys.
Yep. Bye bye.